What's happened, BE3?
Welcome, BE3.
You've got Jeff Beggins and
Craig Beggins,
also known as the Beggins Brothers, coming to you live from beautiful Tampa, Florida today. We got a cool topic.
We do.
Which I think is something that
takes some explaining.
People really need to hear.
They do.
So it's training will keep you poor. And let's go into that, because if you look at what our mantra is, it's sitting right here, right? BE3, the name of the channel, is right here, and it's about empower, educate, and encourage.
I think E to the third power, BE3.
BE3.
E cubed.
So the key is educate to that one. So what's the difference between training and education?
Well, I talked to a lot of agents that we interview. They're trying to choose a broker to work for, and they want to know what our training is.
Yep.
And, I see a lot of other brokers training, and, they train you how to upload photos into the MLS. They train you how to input your listings into the MLS. They train you what words to say.
Right.
But that doesn't make you rich. That's administrative stuff that people can do.
It's important. It teaches you a skill, which is an important part of the business.
Yes.
But that's only going to take you so far, right?
Right. Education, like the team huddles we do every morning. They're not training. That's education. That's like, I'm the broker for the company. So when something screws up, it lands on my desk. And I take that case study, if you will. Think about Harvard. What does Harvard do? What are they known for their education?
Case laws and business studies.
They're case studies, right? So when those problems land on my desk, I turn them around and we have a case study on what we could have done to keep that from happening or what we should have done differently. And that's really, I think, a big concept of education, taking a real life situation and then learning how to avoid it.
Well, we have 55,000 past customers now.
Yes, we do.
Which creates 55,000 transactions, which many of them did not go.
Well, you could argue that's 110,000 transactions because there's two sides to each transaction.
55,000 transactions, so over 100,000 transactions.
Over 100,000 chances to screw up.
Right. And a lot of times did get screwed up.
Yep. Which
created content to educate. And I mean, we can train you. You're brand new in the business. You want to up your game. You want to go get FSBOs. We can teach you the specific skill set to go get a FSBO. And then you're going to be like a dog and you're going to be trained to go get a FSBO, and you can go get another $5,000 here and a $5,000 here and a $5,000 here and a $5,000 here. But that's not really lifestyle. So I think what's missing, I think, from a lot of people in this industry is understanding what education is. How do you take skill set and combine it to a place where you actually get to apply it to live a lifestyle and fund a lifestyle? And the education is how do you communicate? How do you talk with people? You were talking this morning in the team huddle about a specific situation that was screwed up, and that turned into education.
Well, I'll add about that just a little bit. So we're buying Zillow leads. We've got a Zillow team of agents that handles those leads for us. And Zillow's kind of cool because when they pass you a warm transferred lead, they record the interaction on the telephone call. And I get to hear all those telephone calls. And I realized that we need some more education going on how to communicate with people. This particular guy went on, and I know a lot about Florida. This guy lives on the Intercoastal in Jacksonville. We went to Lance's house on the Intercoastal in Jacksonville. Right. That's probably a $2 million property. He's got a vacation home in Salt Lake City. That's pretty expensive property. He called on a $1.6 million house in Ruskin because his daughter just moved to Tampa and they visit a lot, and he thought it'd be cool to have a house there. Okay. So what kind of guy is calling on a $1.6 million fourth home?
Yep. Because
his daughter moved to the area? A guy who's pretty cool, probably.
And let's get to the ugly part of it.
The ugly part is so we wrote, as an education tool, I wrote a document called Internet Lead Talking Points. Because when you're talking about an internet lead, it's really something. Take Zillow, for example. Mm-hmm. You don't know you're not the listing agent. You don't know what city they're calling on. You don't know what zip code they're in. You don't know what price range they're calling on. It's a cold transfer. And they know more about the house than you do. They know the bedrooms. They know the bathrooms. They've seen all the photos. You don't know the bedrooms. You don't know the bathrooms. You haven't seen the photos.
And this guy doesn't know the difference between Ruskin and Riverview and Tampa or Largo or Seminole or Salt Lake City.
So as an education point to the agents, I said, these are internet lead talking points. Don't ask them. Here's what they always say. I'm not at my computer right now. They call, I'm looking at 123 Any Street. Well, I'm not at my computer right now. Can I get your name and number and I'll call you back? That is the worst thing you could ever do.
It's not 1992 anymore, so you're not ever at your computer, right? So we'll stop dropping that talk track out there.
But it doesn't matter. So the talking points are, so what was it about this house that attracted you to call? And let them start talking. And then say, well, is this the only neighborhood you're considering, or are you open to other options? Asking them questions. And it's really difficult to do, right? But that's the education that's going on in the morning. And the more I talk about it, the more I see that people are getting more comfortable with it.
And that's the start of it, right? So then we go a lot deeper, and we're fortunate because we have a lot of touches with our sales force.
Yes.
With several hundred salespeople, and they get the daily team huddles, which is an hour every morning of you,
right?
8:30 to 9:30 every day, broadcast to their phones. Now everybody can't listen at 8:30 to 9:30. So what did we do?
We have a TV channel called C21BE.TV that everything we do is hosted to. So our agents can watch it at 3 in the morning when they can't sleep, or at 2 in the afternoon when Junior's taking a nap.
And if that doesn't work, what else is
it's live on Facebook on our Beggins,
on our closed Beggins agents page over there,
so they can watch it throughout the day whenever they want.
So that's the education, but that's the beginning of it. So the real education is, so you ask a question: is this your first visit to the area? What's important to you, and what are you looking for? What can I tell you? What do you need to feel about the neighborhood? And starting to list it out whether they're.
Are you familiar with CDD communities?
Are they visual? Are they auditory? Are they kinesthetic? Is he a high D? Is he an I personality, an SSC? So you can tailor your communication and the experience that you're going to give to the person. And that's the education that really can't be trained, right? The train is ask them this question, then this question, then this question, then this question. The education comes from.
Which question do you ask when?
Right.
Based on what they told you, because you were keen enough to be able to listen to the conversation rather than fumbling around what you're going to say next.
And tailor your presentation back to the way they want it presented to them. If they're a super high visual mode, you owe them the respect to change into visual mode to present that house or that neighborhood or the community in a visual fashion, and know the difference between if they switch to auditory, how do you describe Tampa Bay in an auditory way versus a visual way versus kinesthetic way? And if you don't have the education to be able to do that, you're not going to be able to create the customer experience that's going to earn you the money, because the lifestyle value of a customer is
$130,000.
So
a lifetime relationship.
Every person you talk with right now, every lead that's in your database will buy again sometime, because what's the average life cycle now between people sell their homes every how many years?
5 to 7 years, right?
Yeah, closer to 7 now. So every 7 years there's a transaction. So every person in your database, if you're planning on being in this industry at least for the next 7 years, everybody in your database is going to buy. So start thinking about them a different way.
And their kids are going to grow up, and their kids' friends are going to need help, and their sisters and brothers and all that stuff.
And Aunt Sue's going to move
when
from New
you're
Jersey.
The coolest dude on the planet.
Right. And they actually want to talk.
Badass realtor.
And you're bringing the value. So where do you think people miss the boat on this thing? And we see it sometimes. Oh, I'm going to go work here, right? And get the training. And then I'll go off and do it on my own, right? What's the fallacy in that statement? Or thought process?
Birds of a feather flock together, I think. It takes a lot of energy to create the environment where this thing works. And when you take the tools that are working in this environment and you put them outside of that environment, and nobody else is using them, it doesn't flow. You don't just get educated and you're done, because the world keeps changing, right? Oh no, I got educated.
Yeah, I know how to do it.
I got my black belt. Well, there's a second degree and there's a third degree. It's continuous. What do we say? It's
continual master's level education is what we do. I can tell you for sure that there's not another brokerage, certainly in this marketplace, that has done as many transactions as we have, right? That's been able to have the experience hands-on.
We're going 27 years.
Right.
To do that.
That's a lot of time. So there's not a whole lot that will trip us up from a skill set perspective on how to do a deal and negotiating a contract.
Yeah, but to my point, that we can't rest on those laurels, because the world is changing. What was effective in 1994 is not so effective in 2019.
And what was effective in October isn't really effective right now too, because we have new entrants into the marketplace. And if you as an agent think that this industry is going to stay even remotely stagnant, you're out of your mind. I mean, every quarter, that's why we work on a quarterly business plan, because I can't predict, you can't predict. Can you tell me what this market's going to be like in November?
Not a clue.
No shot who the biggest threat, right? Strength, weakness, opportunity, threat. You have no idea what's going to be going on at that market. What's the stock market's significantly down today? What if that were to continue for a few weeks? Would that have an impact on the for an investment model at the beach, which changes everything, and the people buying in Tampa. So that would pivot our entire model on how we actually sell, who we sell to, and how we actually adapt to. And if interest rates change or inventory changes and softens, or a new business model enters into the marketplace, that's all change, and you have to learn that education on how to adapt and pivot into this.
And one of my hot, we have about 400 agents, and the BE3 model, I want to change it to BE4 in an adjustable way.
Right.
The fourth E is engage, because you can be educated, but if you're not engaged, you're missing the continual education that comes on. It's like when we do Beggins University, or now we call it Next Level University, we educate the hell out of those people, and then they disappear. But the program's designed, they get educated like crazy for a 3-day all intensive, and then they plug into the team huddles as we go on to keep the engagement going. And
then see the Marketing Mondays and the morning drives and these podcasts and all the different touch points is right there. But without the engagement, it was this morning, I had an interesting meeting here in Tampa, which is building on an interesting meeting I did at sales meeting yesterday at the beach, where we're talking about one of the agents that we have that 90 days ago was about to quit and completely leave the industry and move away from the state. Like, she had just had a baby recently, and there wasn't a lot of familial support there, and it was easier to move up north with her husband's family to sit there and get help raising the kids. And so
it's a cop out, but go ahead.
It was so she comes in with this opportunity to say she's going to leave, and I could see the angst and the emotions that, so do you really want to do this? And it was a hell no, I don't. Right? Why are you doing this?
Well, I want to leave the beach and move to New York.
Right. And how
it's just as hot in New York in the summer, by the way.
So the question was, what to do, what to say, who to say it to. You just haven't said it, and you've got a very reasonable excuse, because you're raising a brand new baby, and that's tough. But you're either going to raise a baby up north, or you're going to raise a baby here. But the only way to raise a baby here is to get help, which is to get money to afford help. Right. So that was a pivot point moment where you get the empower, educate, the encouragement part to get off your butt and make things happen. And 90 days forward to today, we're in the sales meeting yesterday. I said, give us a snapshot of your business today. And there's 10 deals pending.
Wow.
Right. In the last 90 days. And it is 100%. The catalyst was go do it. She's got a huge following on social, but she went out there and knocked on doors, found an expired listing on the beach, and double-sided it at $1 million sale, which puts a good chunk of cash in the pocket, which the catalyst of all these deals started going out on social media. She got a lot of her friends. She got 3 or 4 new listings and 10 deals over the last 90 days, which dramatically changes her world. And then the education that's come across, and she's grown a lot, because now she really knows the DISC, VAKs, and she's able to handle the most analytical people in the planet that she normally wouldn't like to, but her education is to that level that's continually going to grow, but she now knows how to adapt in these circumstances and really change her lifestyle. She just moved into a house on the water, right, on the beach, and life is completely different than packing up and heading up north. That was there. And that's not a training topic, right? That's not a, hey, go do that. That was a life education that was learning about the empowerment.
Slogan's that powerful, because education by itself, without empowerment or encouragement, a lot of people just don't believe they can do it. And I think we spend a lot of our time pumping up flat tires.
Right.
You get a tire with a hole in it, you pump it up, and the air goes out again.
Yep.
Jeff, you can do this. You can do this. They go, no, I can't do this.
And they did it today.
Pump.
Right. A great example of that. We got another agent's doing a new agent to our company, and was gung ho cranking out on expireds. Right. Was doing it. And then I had my birthday. I took a few days off, and we were to the point where he was texting the accountability every day about he had to have 5 face-to-face conversations with an expired every day and text back the whole thing. And we were doing great. And then I took my birthday off. He took that opportunity off, right? And I let him take that opportunity off because I was checked out for a couple days. And so after 1 or 2 days went where he didn't have to send the report and I didn't bust him on it, guess what started happening to the level of contacts?
Yeah, it went
way down, right? So the empowerment deflated, the tire deflated, the education wasn't there because the just empowerment, the encouragement went away. So you've got to have the engagement and the encouragement, but it's not about the training. I mean, he knows what to say. He knows how to say it. He knows how to leave a video, knows how to text it. but he didn't continually do that pressure. And that's that education that we continue doing until you actually get it yourself, because we can't be there forever. We're not going to be there to totally push you every single day because you're an independent contractor at your own business.
But that's my point, though. When you're in an environment that's like that, it's easier to do. But when you leave an environment that does that and go to an environment that doesn't do that, it's hard to maintain that standard.
Right. And if you're on an island by yourself, then nobody else is around you doing anything, it's really hard to find that push. And now every training, you can go to YouTube right now and type in, how do you get a FSBO? You'll find several hundred videos on how to train you how to go get it for sale by owner and expired, but it's not going to end up happening because the education's lacking on that one.
Very good point.
So that's the issue that I wanted to bring up and make sure that you know, because obviously we push out this content for a reason, because we know in our marketplace specifically that nobody else is doing what we're doing. And for 26 years and a lot of transactions, we've got a lot of knowledge to share, and we're happy to share it. Obviously, we're not charging anything for this type of
Well, the truth is we learn by teaching.
True.
Right?
True. And we learn by, and we enjoy watching people take their life to the next level.
No doubt.
So that's the point. So if you are stuck on training, you're going to stay poor. And I mean that really.
In the most caring way.
In the most caring way. And you're not going to become, I'll use the word wealthy because it's not monetary, right? From a wealthy perspective in life, from a lifestyle perspective, you can't do it being trained. Nobody can train you to live an amazing lifestyle.
Well, a big problem with training too is it doesn't require action.
Right.
You know, you could be a new licensee and go to the board for every training class possible. You can learn every dot loop program or software, this, that, and the other, and cloud CMA, and
get it, your GRI,
you
your
could be
CCIM.
trained forever and never do anything. We had this one agent, he was an IBM executive who wanted to get into real estate.
Yeah.
I won't say his name, but this guy literally got so trained he couldn't do anything. It was a mess.
Yep.
We're like, dude, just go out there and talk to people.
Yep. And he actually hired coaches,
Yeah.
right, to train him how to go talk to people. And he knew exactly how to do it. He just never once did it, but he was very well trained.
Very well trained.
Right. He could tell you exactly how to do it, but never actually did it. So that's a big flaw that I see in this industry right now.
You know, it's like training somebody on a contract. You know, or we teach something called strategic pricing analysis, which is our version of a CMA. And we've just come to that. We can't train how to do a spa. You just got to do it. And we'll give you the guidelines, the bumpers to stay within.
But you need the education to figure out the logic behind the human interaction of comprehending supply and demand economics in a market, which
And
is really
subjectivity.
what it is. Yep. Which is not the adjustment for an extra half bath.
That's
That
right.
can be trained. But the strategic positioning, saying, wait a second, that house around the corner went under contract a week ago. That comp is going to hit in the next 3 weeks, which is going to totally alter the appraisal for this property. And I better be careful
For the good or the
push this
bad.
a good right.
Could be either way.
So where's the education to pick the brain of the other agent to find out what did that actually sell for, so I can now coach my client to either get a sale quickly or sit back and wait, because that comp's going to help us or hurt us.
Yep.
Right? But that's not a training topic. That's an education to say, here's how Joe just got screwed because his deal just failed because the appraisal didn't come in because somebody down the street just sold their house for a little bit less in a desperation move.
I wrote an article last month for the little wizard article thing we do. And I talked about there's really only 3 problems that happen for a real estate deal to fall apart. And what are they? Number 1, they got an inspection problem, and it was as his contract, so they didn't go through.
Yep.
2, it was an appraisal problem. 3, it was a financing problem. Pretty much those are the 3 things. So education says, if you know there's 3 problems that are going to rock your deal, well, then why don't you address those 3 problems up front? Have the seller inspect the home before they put it in the market so you can identify any major issues going to scare the hell out of a buyer. The financing part, and I love when you talk about this, listing agent, call the buyer's loan officer and find out how qualified they are before you take our seller's listing off the market.
Yep.
If they haven't made application yet and they don't have had their credit pulled and they haven't produced their tax returns, what the hell are you doing taking a house off the market?
For 30 days.
For 30 days. You know, the guy's making a $5,000 a month mortgage payment. You're costing $5,000 by not doing that. I tell the buyer, slap, slap, slap.
Yep.
Go get approved before you come shopping.
Yep.
If I were going to go buy, I love this example. If I was going to go buy a house, I could close in 10 days because all my shit would be put together for the mortgage company all in a row.
Yep.
And I would have a stamp of approval on my forehead saying qualified buyer, qualified buyer. And if I
Which
didn't
you'd
have
use
that,
for leverage to negotiate a better
I
deal
would.
to close quickly.
Yeah.
But
So
that's
it's
an
our
education.
fault. It's our fault if our deals fall apart on inspections
Yep.
because we should have addressed that up front. It's our fault if it dies on financing because we should have addressed that up front. Now with limitations. Now appraisals are the only thing, but sometimes we can argue those through too.
Yep.
Or worst case, you've got a qualified buyer, make application with a different lender and get a new appraiser.
And from a financing perspective, I think there is zero time ever that it's okay to not have your buyer 100% vetted and basically underwritten as a person.
I just had a thought. You mentioned the look on the buyer's agent's face. We said, sorry, we're not going to accept your offer because your buyer hasn't been qualified yet.
Yeah.
I talked to your loan officer and they haven't produced anything.
Right.
Why are you even showing them houses?
Yeah. This was fun. I mean, my personal house, and then the best one ever was the one when we sold my wife's condo in Ybor, right? And so this agent comes over with this offer, and it was really fun because it was sold Facebook marketing, pre-MLS, through a social media page for that website, through the community complex. And just to create a little frenzy, because I was smart watching the marketplace and realized there were no units that were at this level, at this price point, on this floor as a corner unit for sale at ever. So it's supply and demand. So then when there was no supply, right, then I knew there was demand, we threw it out there, the bait. So we get a quick bunch of phone calls, and I selfishly didn't want to deal with it, so I'd like to show it once. So it was one day for a couple of hours where we had a bunch of showings, and somebody came in and with an offer, and it was the normal typical offer. It was, as is 30-day financing contingency, normal, right? Which everyone said, oh, that's fine. And so we said, okay, great, but here's the way it's really going to be. It's going to be 5-day inspection period because it only takes 5 days, and it's a condo. There's not much to inspect, right? Plus, at that same time period, you have to have your financing contingency removed. And the agent flipped out. There's no way we can get it clear to close. I said, I never asked you to get it clear to close. I asked you to remove your financing contingency, that you can't walk out if you don't get your financing, because that's never happened. Well, nobody would ever do this. Well, that's the way this is going to work. If you can't tell me that your client is creditworthy, has their tax returns done, has some pay stubs, and a lender says, I will loan you money, why would we ever possibly take your offer? It doesn't make any sense at all. Now, we'll keep the appraisal contingency in because that's only fair, but every other contingency is completely removed, and you're going to have to put another $10,000 down, and that's going to be non-refundable after these next 10 days.
Love it.
But you can't argue that that's not the right thing to do for a seller. So, but that's an education. That's not a training system, because in order to get that through, you have to learn how to connect with that other agent, because you think there was some calming down that needed to happen with teaching her to teach her client how this is the way it's going to be, and it's okay, and here's why. And that's not a training topic. That's you need to know how to mirror and match. You need to know how to do VAK. You need to know how to just relate to people, and it's a constant people and communications business. But that story right there is an education in itself, right? And to be able to have that education from a daily basis on multiple touch points is something that nobody else is really getting at there now.
And you learn by repetition.
You do.
And education.
Say that again?
Really, you learn by repetition.
Yeah, say that again.
You learn by repetition. See, I had to say it again so I remember what it was.
That's the game. So that's what we're doing. And the hope here is rising tide raises all boats, because it really is frustrating when you deal with agents that lack education. Yes. And I'll just, it's true. And agents who think they're trained that don't have education are doing a disservice to the complete industry, and which is opening up for the commoditization of an entire industry. And I think that that's wrong. I don't think it's right. And we're doing our part here to stop that. And that's why we're not just doing this to our company. We're doing this to the industry and to all the people that we interact with, and just our BE3 tribe, because rising tide does raise all boats, and we want to bring as much of this education out to you guys as we can, because it'll all come back somehow, someday.
Yep.
That's the plan. So parting words?
Stay empowered, educated, and encouraged.
And stop training or you're going to be poor, right? Switch the gear and become completely educated And the higher level of education you can achieve, the higher quality of lifestyle you're going to be able to live. And there's no way to argue that point. So don't even try it, just accept it and increase your level of education, and you're going to increase your lifestyle. So if we can help you in any way whatsoever, hit us up and
Comment,
reach out,
thumbs up, thumbs
share,
down.
tag an agent who you think needs to hear this, and you want to help them not be poor also. So
Awesome.
thanks for watching.